Was everything said? Right, thank you, Francis, for just summarizing it to make McDonald's update. So if you remember yesterday, one of the issues were to make clear the discipline and the rules, right? In order also to make some procedure. We're talking about some tournament or some kind of discipline action. I want to show you, this is the ratio formationis. Ratio formationis is the plan of formation for a local reality. So for the congregation, each congregation, and as God, his own ratio generalis, means the general plan of formation for all the congregation, which is based on the document that yesterday I sent to Father Lawrence, which is the ratio of the Universal Church. So the Universal Church, through the department of the Congregation for Clergy, so they made a ratio generalis for all the church and all the seminaries. Then each religious congregation has been called to prepare a ratio generalis for its own congregation, means all the general guidelines that lead that congregation. Then within this general ratio generalis, each country or each province or each reality is called to make a ratio formationis, means a local plan for formation. Hopefully that also Nigeria might have. So Father Ben has to work on it because he's the one in charge of this. And so far we have different countries in the world that already prepared. For instance, I show you now one, this is from the Philippines, we have one from Indonesia, we've done one in India, we've done one in Italy. So each country or each realities or province are doing their own ratio formations. Hopefully that Nigeria can get its own ratio formazione ready. This ratio formazione has to reflect what the ratio generalis of the congregation says, plus the local procedure. Because you know, how many years of philosophy do we have here? 4. How many of theology? 4. This is for Nigerian country according to the Bishops' Conference, right? If you go to Italy, it's not the same. In Italy, we have just 2 years of philosophy and 4 years of theology. You know, that's why the ratio, just I give you an example, the ratio formazione reflects the local institution, the local things, but based on the ratio generalis. So I want to, this is for instance, you see, here in this one, we also line, so the period of formation, propedeutic transparency, which is called candidate, where what they do internal school, the length is 1 year, the place where they do it. The apprenticeship, they do this, you know, and what is the academic, the first of philosophy, also the first, because there are two semesters of philosophy. Then, after the postulancy, means after 4 years, then they are in the community, they might have the novitiate. Then after the novitiate, there are 2 years or 4 years of theology, and then they give the magisterium. After the magisterium, there is another year in the Philippines called configuration year, which is something that the local church has requested, the Bishop's Conference, and only after the configuration year there is the perpetual vows. And then we can have, so everything is clear, you know, the way of forming in each country. And each year has got its own program in each area, you know, all these things. Now I want to show you, that's why the reason I'm not going to talk about the ratio formationis, but I'm going to tell you some clear attitude or behavior that needs to be very clear for the candidate when they come in a religious community. Which, if you go against those things, it's very clear that you can be dismissed. But should be clear at the beginning. It's not just something that a formator or a superior might invent. That's why I was saying we can give some kind of atonement or disciplinary action, but he has to know why, the reason, and he has to know that he broke this law. I will tell you something about, for instance, here in the Philippines, that we are using also in most of the country Asia, all the Asia countries. Dismissal procedure for a novice, a temporary profess in the Philippines. So we're following what the canon law from the article for the canon 694 to 704 is written. What our constitution says and what our directory says. I want to clarify, this is also good for you, for any religious. Dismissal procedure for a temporary prophet is submitted to major superior. So this should be very clear. A temporary prophet might be dismissed, but the procedure needs to be submitted to the major superior. There is a general rule in the church. The one who admits is the one who dismisses. So a novice can be dismissed by a novice master?
No.
Can a novice be dismissed by a novice master?
No.
Why? Why not? What?
He didn't admit it.
Because he didn't admit it. Might a novice master, can a novice be dismissed by the superior delegate?
No.
Yes or not?
No.
Huh?
No.
Why not?
It's not a major.
Because it's not a major superior, it's not admitted. If he was a provincial, of course he can dismiss. Because the rule is, the one who admits, the one has power to dismiss. A local superior can dismiss a postulant.
Yes.
Are you sure? Why?
Yeah, it's,
Why?
it's not yet religious.
This is not the rule.
Because it's the one who admitted the post.
Because one who admits the postulant is the local superior. The local superior admits a postulant as an aspirant. So, according to their own, what the authorities that the Constitution gives to the local superior, he can dismiss. But from the novitiate onward, only who admits might dismiss. In this case, look at it. Dismissal procedure for a temporary prophet is submitted to major superior when religious has been warned twice on the same offense and recorded. This is what also we use in our congregation. I don't know here. So so you can submit this procedure to this for dismissal when a prophet's brother has been warned 2 times on the same offense, and when this warning, this warning has been recorded. Okay. Then submit to the major superior a detailed disciplinary report mentioning the 2 warnings. So after 2 times that he has been warned, so you can submit the procedure to the major superior with a disciplinary report about the case and with the 2 mentioning the 2 warnings that have been done. Meanwhile, the result for dismissal from major superior is made. The novice and temporary professor will leave the community. For example, will leave, it's not dismissed. Will leave the community. Because for some reason, he has to leave. So he might leave the community, but it's not dismissed. That's why it says, meanwhile the result for dismissal from the major superior is made, this person that he might create some confusion or even a bad example for those who are in the religious house, he might leave the community, but not dismissed. So the result comes from the major superior. In this case for Nigeria, it's come from Rome, through the delegate, right? Then you see, religious has been warned 2 times of the same offense. Which are the offense for the discipline in the Philippines? That's why the Ratio Formationis is located for the Philippines in this area, as well as needs to be done for Nigeria. SDV Philippines Disciplinary Offense Act for Dismissal Procedure. A. Habitual disobedience to our rules and regulations and to the formators and teachers. Should be very clear. Habitual disobedience. That's why the novice, the prophet has to know this very clear. Rebellion attitude toward the community, to the formators and teachers. Disrespectful and constant negligence of his assigned duties. Constant murmuring and public complaint against the formators and the community. Going out from the community without any permission. Hiding things like electronic gadgets to the superior, such as cell phones, tablets, computers, Walkman, iPod, and whatever. Because in this country it's not allowed to use. Engaging into a relationship with any girl while in formation. Immoral words, actions, and behaviors. Demonstrating homosexual action in public or in private. Persistent to heretic idea and systematic principle and is teaching others to do the same. Showing a behavior of unforgiving and always keeping grudges and anger constantly in one's heart. Drinking alcohol without permission or finding themselves with hard drinks. Smoking, evil activities during the night, watching or keeping pornographic material. So this should be very clear. At the beginning they know. These are the regulations for our house of formation. So if you offend this regulation 2 times and you are warned, you are going to be dismissed. Without any other problem. That's why the 2 times needs for the formator to make the student aware and to help him to improve. How is the method when you have to make aware of them? Listen to the method that they are using, which I found really very good. The method, the local superior, novice master, will pray for the person, first of all. Secondly, the local superior, novice master, will call the attention of the person and give a brotherly reminder and correction. Brotherly reminder and correction. Third, the local superior, novice master, will inform the other priests or confreres in the community and ask for more prayers and guidance for the person. You know, it's not a matter of only discipline, it's a matter of spiritual things. We cannot act without spiritual matters, elements. That's why the first thing, the formator has to pray for them. The superior has to pray for them. Because the superior is not the executor of discipline orders. You know? And then, the fourth is also only after doing the first and second step, so he will inform the priest of the community for more prayer and for more guidance. 4, the person will be called for the second time and give a stern warning for his fault. 5th, local superior novice master will communicate and refer the case to the delegate, to the major superiors, and to the counselor of formation. The local superior novice master will carry out the decision taken by the major superior. Note, our principle will work in searching, cultivating, helping, and saving authentic and true vocations. But we cannot also compromise the common good of the congregation in particular and for the universal church in general by giving and producing unworthy and scandalous vocation. Very clear. This is the principle that is leading our brothers in the Philippines. And the brothers, they know, very clear. If they go through this offense, this 14 offense, there is this procedure to follow, and then they will be dismissed. Because the aim is to save a vocation, to make them aware, but not promote those who are unworthy and scandalous vocation for the church. You know? Yes?
The procedure, the method rather, said the formator will pray with the candidate and for the candidate. For how long?
Huh?
For how long?
So, of course, before taking an action, someone comes to you, right? As a formator, or maybe something comes to know. So you formate before action, you have to go and pray. And once you feel convinced in the prayer, and you have done enough for him, of course, you have to proceed all this kind. But the first step needs to be the prayer. You cannot call the novice or whatever, or the non-prophet, before discussing these things with God first. That's why. With prayer doesn't mean that you have to take 1 year praying for it. It's also to be prudent and wise.
No, it has a reason why I asked, because he said 2 warnings.
Yeah? Yeah?
Within the period.
Yeah.
So that was why I asked for how long.
No, I said, so what they do? The religious being warned twice on the same offense. Okay, so I get someone with alcoholic drinks, right? Okay, I will pray for this situation. I will call him, I warn him with brotherly, as I said the first time, and I try to. And this is the first warning, right? I be able to record it. You get the second time, the same person, as the procedure says here. You call also the brothers of God, you get home, and then you submit the case to the major superior. You know, this is the point. Yes. Yes, Father John.
You said something, maybe in regards to the good of the community, if the person will ask to go first. So how long is the person going to stay before coming back?
Till when the major superior takes you to the flash.
So in addition to the 14th step that they are using in the film.
Yeah.
So those that guard the rules now, what if they happen to be those that break the rules too?
No, say again, I'm not with you. Say again, please.
The rules that
Yes.
listed, like the 14 rules,
Yeah.
the formators will bring them to the formatees. Then among those rules, there are some certain things, pornography, homosexual, those that are supposed to police and guide the rules so that people follow. What if it happens that they are even the ones that are involved in social acts?
If there is a social act, because we say a community scandals, that's why you have to call, you have to tell them. But for prudence attitude, you have to ask him to leave.
He's asking of the formators. What about the formator? Is the victors of those
The formator is?
breaking the guilty of those offense?
All right, okay. Sorry, I didn't get. If it's the formator who breaks this line, we have the guidelines for the safeguarding. In the congregation, there is a Bible. I don't know the shortly you will receive it for the safeguarding when a major superior, a provincial, a delegate, or regional superior, or a local superior, or a formator, or a parish priest breaks one of these norms. So there is a vademecum when there is a proper procedure to go through these things. You know? And this is also something that in the future you have to know, you have to make some workshop with everybody to know, because now shortly we implement this vademecum, which the general chapter has asked for the safeguarding with minors, vulnerable people, and with what's that in no, it is vulnerable people and inappropriate behavior. So these 3 categories: minors, vulnerable people, and inappropriate behavior. And there is written very clear, even if a major superior breaks it. What is the procedure? What is the investigation? When we have to refer to the Holy See? What will be the result? And all this kind of thing, you know. This, because it's internal one, it should be very clear, right? Because the temporary one are ruled by the congregation. If it was a perpetual prophet's member, he goes to the vademecum and will be the Holy See dealing directly with those things. Because then the dismissal for a perpetual vows member comes from the Holy See. But the temporary one, the novice one, belongs to the congregation. That's why we have this procedure in the Philippines, and the major superior can act immediately. But for the one of perpetual member, it would be go through this. And there is also, you will see in the back that there is a procedure. We have to investigate. We have to record the testimonies. We have to see the case. We have to see all this kind. And then the final result is in the hands of the Holy See. And you know which one? From the doctrine of the faith. No either from the Congregation for Clergy Religious, but it's the doctrine of the faith which deals directly with these things. In those cases, in these kind of things, but especially those cases of abuse with minor or with vulnerable people, they are dealt directly with the Holy Father. The Holy Father is the one who goes through all the papers and then say yes or not. This is the procedure of the doctrine of the faith. Shortly, I think you already know, but shortly we are going to have this document for all the congregation, and then everybody knows. That's why it's different. If it's a superior or whatever, goes through that kind of mathematics.
Yeah. So you mentioned of 14 rules. Laws guiding the commission has over the years. What if, yeah, I know, over there. Yes. So, what if maybe, and for you to be dismissed, you must commit maybe each of them 2 times.
Yeah.
You'll be one.
Yeah.
What if one decides to be committing one? There is 14 of them.
No, brother, it's
Here, if it commit bang one, but this is a casistic. This is not the formation procedure. This is just a casistic case. If the man was going to commit one by one, you know, brother, we are before an insane person. There is no need that you have to go twice. But it's very clear that the formator is that this person is not balanced at all. You know, here we are with people with our mental, in a good mental health. But if there is someone who commits all these 14, I think, you know, I will doubt also for his genuine vocation. You know. Right? Okay, that's clear. This one, this way I clarified this point. That's day I was telling you. Now let's go to the evaluation. Okay. First of all, before going to this practical session, before going to the evaluation, I would like to say something about evaluation. Evaluation is a document which is for the candidate and for the institution. It's not only for the institution. The evaluation is for the candidate and for the institution. That's why the evaluation needs to be read, because it's a document which, first of all, has to have the growth of a candidate. And also is a document that can measure the growth of this candidate. It's not a disciplinary action. It's not a legal document of offenses, or is a document of dismissal. Before going to the evaluation, we need to follow in the formation the formality. And those it is written in the evaluation should be the result of the all-year-long accompaniment. That's why it is, I would say, nearly dishonest from a formator or from a superior to write an evaluation without meeting the student along the year long. And for me, it's totally dishonest to meet the student only at the last moment when you are submitting the evaluation. Then I will show you how the evaluation needs to be done, because to read the evaluation to the student, it doesn't mean that and the student he doesn't agree, okay? It doesn't mean that it needs to be changed. It should be very clear. But sometimes in a formation, we work together with a self-evaluation and the formator's evaluation. We take grid, that now I show you, and most of the time we try to combine the two grids. And the best result of a good work of formation is when mostly the self-evaluation of the candidate and the evaluation from the superior most of the time combines. And then I show you how. That's why before a formator has to write, which is a great and a big responsibility to put down to write down something about other people's life, because those documents will be forever. They will be kept in archives. And brothers, we have, unfortunately, we had to deal with some situation very serious and sad about some religious. And when we go through, or especially when it's Holy See involved, especially the doctrine of the faith, so they ask for all the file of the candidate. So we have to take a file from the archive and to entrust to the Holy See. That's why to make an assessment is not something easy, and that you have to write at the last moment, or sometimes you copy and paste some formators. When he have 15 students and he does the evaluation the last moment, what he does, just he changes the name and then copy and paste one content. And sometimes, because unfortunately this is my job, because all the assessment they come to me, and I have to check them. I have to check the application form, what you have written in the application form. I have to check the content of the evaluations and see if there is any inconsistency or whatever, and then I have to summarize the evaluation to present to the council. Imagine the big work that when I receive from Nigeria a pile of applications like this, I need a month to work on it. That's why sometimes the council is on the 15th and they send all these things on the 10th. It is impossible for me to work on this. And sometimes I have to see to the delegates or the superior, hang on, we'll be for the next council. Because there is a lot of work on it. It's not just a matter that is very easy. So sometimes I notice that some formator and also the superiors or the delegates, they don't notice it. They copy and paste without changing the name of the candidate. They change only the biography data, and then there is Francis is a good candidate because he was going to go to the prayer 3 times a day. And then you see the evaluation of Martin, then Martin dates are all correct. And then on the Omian era, Francis is a good candidate. You know, brothers, believe me, when those things happen, it's a moment of great sadness for us in the council, because we see this unserious action from this formator and how these formators are treating and respect these candidates, these formalities. You know? That's why the assessment, a formator, when he has to write the assessment, I think he needs a week of retreat before writing those assessments. Because it's something very, very important. We are dealing with people's life. And the people's life, the only one who has right on our own lives is our Creator. Nobody else. That's why the evaluation is a legal document to measure the growth of a candidate. And if we want the candidate to grow, he has to know what is written. Otherwise, how this man can grow if he doesn't know in which area he has to grow? And each evaluation has different, I would say, importance, because if you make an evaluation of the first year of profession renewal and say that a candidate sometimes he does come for the chapel for the prayer, he has got a value on the first year. If you say the same thing on the second year, he's another importance. If you say the same thing, maybe, and this candidate is on the third year, this is more important than the first year, because it means that there is no progress in the formation. That's why, and we cannot, this is another thing, you cannot copy what is written last year and paste for the next year. Please. This is totally dishonest. You will be formators one day, and please, all those who are already in formation, don't do this. This is a great dishonesty before the church, before God first, before the candidate, before the church and the congregation. It's something very serious. I think that I'm passing on you how serious the formation is. It's not just a matter of titles, but it's a real ministry, and it's very serious, brothers. Okay, after this, let's go how to make an evaluation. First of all, you have to write in the evaluation clear personal biography date. Okay? Because this is a legal document. This one, maybe I can leave this with your Father Lawrence, maybe he can pass on to you as well, and also with the formators. This is a scheme that might be for. Then I show you how the formators on this scheme they write an evaluation. Okay? So of course we need a Christian name, we need his surname, we need date of birth, we need the place of birth. We need, be careful on this. Date and place of entrance into the congregation needs to be reported always. Because imagine that we are, after 8 years that this man is in the congregation and is not able to be admitted to the final profession, it makes sense to know when did he enter. You know? That's why date and place of entrance into the congregation, date and place of his first profession. This is also important because also you can see this is on the 6th renewal. Why on the 6th renewal? Maybe something went wrong in the life of this man if they put off renewal of the vows, you know? As well as some, let me use the right words. Let me think the right word. Some tricky superior, maybe someone they want to push some candidate, I don't know, or because of mistake. After the second year, they made the candidate apply for the final profession, which is impossible because it's against the constitution, the canon law. How we can about, because we don't know, we don't have all the names of the people, we don't remember everything, but we go through the dates. And when the superiors or the formators they write these things, unfortunately, most of the time I have to go to the general archive to check if it is correct. That's why. So the evaluation is written by the formator. It is signed by the local council of the superior, and we see, and it is approved by the local council of the delegate or the superior regional or the provincial. You know, when we receive from, for instance, from Nigeria, there is the sign of the formator, the sign of the local superior, the sign of the local council, and then there is the recommendation from them. It means that then they have to go through the content and see it. That's why some point when I receive an evaluation where it's written, the evaluation is for Francis, but the content is for Martin, and said that the superior, they say, we approve what the formator said. I said, maybe nobody went through the evaluation. They didn't check it. Just as they signed. Brothers, this is something very serious. Then date and place of the second renewal, third renewal, and then if there is fourth, fifth, fifth, sixth renewal, always you need to put the place until you make the place of the final profession. The place, this should be the other way around. The date and place of a magisterium or regency, because as you know, for us the regency comes before the final profession. Then date and place of diaconate and ordination, date and place of priestly ordination. Here, this is something that needs to be updated. Here we need also to put, if it's the case, the date of the canonical bands. You know the canonical bands, what they are. So for the final profession, diaconate and ordination, we need to make some canonical bands for 2 weeks on display. If we don't get any result, we need to write the date when they started and when they end, and what is the result. If there is any kind of complaint or any kind of bad result, the superior, which is in this case is the delegate, or the major, or or the quasi-provincial or the regional superior has to write a confidential letter to the Father General saying what is the reason that came out from the canonical law. Okay? Right. This is more or less the main things, this introduction, the background, that needs always to be written, not to be missed. Sometimes it is my task, this is really hopeful, they have to write or have to call the superiors or the delegates or whatever, say, fathers, right, but which renewal of houses, the first, the second, the third, because it's not written here. When did he enter? When did he join the novitiate? When did he start all these things? Because when there are no these things, we need to be reminded them. Then you see the green one we are going to see is an instrument of evaluation for the formator and for the self-evaluation of the candidate. Because now we see this green. It's an instrument that helps the formulation of a written evaluation, but it's not its substitute. What does that mean? Because you see, it will be like this. You know, I show you this. It's from 1 to 5. It helps you to formulate the evaluation. But you cannot send this one just with the X 5, 3, 4, and then the sum. Brothers, believe me, if I'm telling you this because this happened. Okay? This happened. Just recently, we had some kind of days, and we might excuse this priest because he didn't went for a course, for a formator course. It is a new mission, and maybe he didn't know about all these details. We decided, okay, we accept for this time, and then we go through the training of this man. But I tell you, it happened. That's why it is very clearly written that it's an instrument that helps the formulation of a written evaluation, but it's not its substitute. The written evaluation has its contain the following elements: general data of the candidate and description of his actual state, physical and psychological. Evaluation concerning human dimension. Evaluation concerning communitarian dimension, spiritual dimension, intellectual dimension, and pastoral dimension. Then, this is the content of the evaluation. So, when you write an evaluation, you should put this general data on the top. Then, human area, and you write in this block something about human area. Intellectual one, you have to write this intellectual things in all this area, right? Then, final recommendation. This is very important. He has to be consistent with the general content expressed in the various area. He's very good in the prayer. He's excellent at the school. He's very good in the communitarian area. There is no problem for the pastoral work. But then, we don't recommend him for the renewal of vows. Or we don't recommend him for the final profession. This is inconstancy. Or, I told you in a positive way, but most of the time it comes in the other way around. He has problem in the life of prayer, he has problem in the communitarian life, there is some problem in the pastoral areas, and then we recommend for the renewal of the final profession. You know? Or, even, sometimes they make a clear description. We leave on the Father General in his council the final decision to decide. Why do we put you there? Why? That's why the final recommendation is very important and needs to be consistent with the content expressed in the various areas. The following expression is to be used. It is recommended for. It is not recommended for. It's recommended for an extension of. These are the three categories. There is no other categories. It's recommended, not recommended, or it's extended. Okay? Or if it's the case, which is not, you have not to reach this point, we suggest for the dismissal. But then there is another procedure to do this. Okay? This is really very important, brothers. Or if we receive some evaluation without any recommendation, we send them back. Because the formator has to take responsibility of his work, of his job, of his ministry. Then the date. Then look at this. Signed by the Council of the Superior. This is a norm from our directory, number 211. It is essential for the evaluation to be taken into consideration by the general provincial and delegation that he has to contain the signature of the local council. You know what is the local council? It's the superior, the formator, the vice superiors, and the treasurer. And if there is another priest which is connected with this community, but he is a parish priest, even the parish priest goes into the to sign. Okay? But this is the council of the superior. No psychologist, no spiritual father, no others. If there are 2-3 religious priests who belong to this community and there are 3 different parishes, the oldest one among them will be the one who will be signing. This is the rectory. Just to avoid that it becomes a personal issue between the formator and the formandis. According to our directory, there is only one person who might sign by himself the evaluation, according to our directory. But we are going to change it because now we have already changed it in some area. The novice master. The novice master is the only one in charge to write an evaluation and to sign it. But because we want to be objective, sometimes we have seen some abuses on it. So we have asked also the novice master, he has to prepare, he has to sign by the approval of the local council. And he has to go through the delegate and the approval of the delegation council as well. You know? Then, listen to this. The evaluation is to be read and discussed with the candidate. This is a document for our congregation. I don't know what will be in the father's congregation, but I'll tell you something what happened to us. So for us, the evaluation is to be read and discussed with the candidate. Doesn't mean that we have to change the evaluation, but it needs to be read and discussed. Because as I told you, it's a document of measuring the growth. And it's for the candidate and for the institution. We cannot ask the candidate to grow if he doesn't know in which areas to grow. That's why, please, try to, if it's not, I don't know, if it's not in a procedure here in Nigeria, please start to make this procedure. The evaluation needs to be read. It's not the final document, a private document of the formator, not at all. Then the candidate's application are to be received at least 3 months prior to the celebration. Because sometimes, brothers, there is some mistake in the applications. I'll give you an example. I apply deliberately without any force to my first profession. The novice master told me to apply for the first profession, and I will do freely, but not with all the questions. You know. What does it mean all these things? The novice master told me to write the application. You know, this is forcing someone. And then, even though the novice master did something for the good sake, but this is at the end of the day, so this is something that he is not totally free to apply. And sometimes we have some things, I tell you by experience, that's why I give you an example. And we have to go back to the novice master, try to see what that means. It takes time, And if it's just 10 days before the first profession or the final profession, how we can do all these things? We have to put it off. And sometimes, unfortunately, we have to punish the students because of the neglection of the superior. because the superior are very neglected and they do properly, sometimes what is the final result is against the student, you know. That's why we at least we receive this. We want to receive at least 3 months before. If we know that at the end of August there is the final profession, at least June, July, all these documents have to reach to us. I do remember that once, reaching a very short time because there was some problem that they were from Nigeria, they sent to Rome to someone, and this person didn't entrust the pile of documents, and we went to council and we didn't know how to act on this because and then he wrote, "Father, sorry, try to be patient with us. This is the last time that we left." So what we did, what we had to do in that case, because it was not your fault, but it was the mediator fault. I had to go through all this big one of these things, and then I had to ask Father John, please call an extraordinary council to admit these boys. And Father General has to call all the other councillors to make an extraordinary council to admit, you know. Right. So these are the background of an evaluation. Okay? So let's have a break because it's 11:05, and then we go to all the brief.